Good morning, Carly and Todd. The standoff between Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, and President Trump shows no signs of easing. Johnson taking to the streets on Monday after signing an executive order limiting how much the city's police department can work with troops and federal immigration agents.
Are you prepared to defend this land? The people united will always prevail. I need you all to stand firm, to stand strong. This is the city that said keep hope alive. The city that birthed yes we can. And the city that will defend this country. No troops in Chicago. No troops in Chicago.
Johnson is promising to resist despite another violent weekend in Chicago. NBC Chicago reports 54 people were shot and 7 people were killed during Labor Day weekend in the Windy City. The president is making comparisons with D.C., saying, wow, Mayor Muriel Bowser of D.C. has become very popular because she worked with me and my great people in bringing crime down to virtually nothing in D.C. Her statements and actions were positive instead of others like Pritzker, Wes Moore, Newsome, and the 5% approval rated mayor of Chicago. FBI Director Kash Patel says there have now been 1,600 arrests since the administration began its crime crackdown in D.C. He says over the last few days alone, there were 19 arrests involving the FBI, 8 gun recoveries, and 7 drug seizures. The president is set to give an announcement today at 2 p.m. local time. We will see if he has anything more to say regarding his threats to step in Chicago.
The bat signal. Okay. We are back. The Trump signal, ladies and gentlemen. We are back. We are back from a little break that we took. And I want to apologize. I guess we could have been a little more announcery for the break. Yes, me, real, back. We are back. No more fake lives. Okay. Thank you, by the way, for everybody filled in. We do our best to stay rocking and rolling. But man, hot damn, has a lot happened. And it's going to be an insane week. Trust me, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be an insane week. It's already started off with a bombshell, but I want to just say that I missed you. I missed you. I just want to give nothing but love and shouts. Shout out love to the chat. And say that we, boy, it was a restful 2 weeks with my family. We just took a little break from the show. We did a little recordings here and there, touched on the news when we could, but I wanted to lie. You know, my kids are only young for so long, and I got 4 little young kids. I almost said 5 there. Oh, my goodness gracious. Are we going to have 5 kids? I'm not sure. It's a debate in this family. That question belongs to God alone. But yeah, I got 4 little kids, and you kind of miss, I only get an hour with them a day, and so we decided to take a little bit of an extended 2-week break from the show and to lock in. And we didn't do anything extravagant. We stayed in Florida. We went to a beach and we just sat at the beach, we chilled with the kid. And we splashed and we built sand castles and caught crabs and fish. And I just locked in with my kids and my wife, and that's it, right? And I would encourage every man who has a family to sort of snap out of it and to go do that. It's good for the soul. It's good for the spirit. It's great for your family. And it really connects you with the only thing that matters, is what makes you an actual superhero to these little kids, is that you're there for them and that you show up for them. And 90% of life is just showing up. And that's what I'm going to do for my kids. And that's what we did over the last 2 weeks. And so thank you for being there for us and for granting us sort of the capacity to break away and do this. It's our great honor, obviously, to do the show. And I do miss doing the show every second that I'm gone. But the two are connected, aren't they? Right? The two are connected. The closest that you can, men think, and I'm not going to get all philosophical here. And we do have a lot to get to today. And it's such an exciting day. Actually, I just got off the phone with Fox News railing and ranting about another incredible headline that they've decided to make about yours truly. But before we get to all that, I want to say this. men on this earth, women on this earth, they're like always searching for utopia. We're always searching for the thing that's going to make us happy. Is it going to be the next thing we buy, whether that's a car or a new purse or a new pair of shoes? Is that the next drink we take at the bar? Is it the next rep we get at the gym? Is it the next, dollar we make in our bank account? Is it the next diamond that I buy at the store? Whatever that thing is for you, men and women are always searching for that little utopia on earth. And actually, I can tell you, to a man, I found it. And I stand here with a full heart to tell you, I have found true happiness and true utopia, and the closest that you can possibly get on earth. Klein, if you wouldn't mind, put that photo right back up. The closest any man can truly get to being at complete peace and living inside of a flow state of actual joy is to just vibe with his little kids and to feel the absolute lightness of the lives that you had a hand in creating that are blessing given unto you by our Lord and Savior and our Creator. These are souls that have been entrusted to us. And like the protection of these souls, and this now gets into sort of the flow of the show, the protection of these souls is the most important thing I will ever do in life. I've already decided to uproot my family and move to a foreign state where we knew literally nobody. We moved to a town where we knew nothing, where we had nothing. We had no infrastructure, nothing. This sort of a, out of Egypt moment, kind of, right? God sent plagues and said, go. There's nothing I wouldn't do for the protection of souls. These are souls that God gave to me and my wife. They belong to him, but they have been entrusted to us in this life, and we had a hand in creating them. And that is the most important thing. And the closest to heaven on this earth you will ever get is witnessing the birth of a child, your child, and then raising those children and having them lavish you and crawl all over you and jump on you and experience new things with you. And it's the delight of life. It is true utopia. I found it. It has not, you can take every single digit in my bank account. You can take it. You can take all the rest of it. You could write any headline you want about me. None of it matters. I'm happy and they're miserable. And so I win, actually, in the end. And that's the way God intended it. Read Ecclesiastes. Got a chance to read a little bit of the Bible too. Read Ecclesiastes. It's the way God intends it. That's like the value of life. If there is any value of life, there it is. And it's to be joyful and happy with what God has given to you, the gifts that God's given to you. And children are absolutely the peak of those, the peak of any gift that can be given to you. And so, ladies and gentlemen, especially when you have kids, it is important for, kind of happens naturally in a family. Women look inward when they have children. The women then, like my wife is like caring about our children. My wife has put many things on hold in order to care for our children at home. And then men, get a big broad chest and stand upright with a full heart. Be upstanding, men. And then men look outward. And we look outward to protect and to trap and to hunt and to kill and to ensure that our family is protected. That's the way of things. It's the way it's always been. It's the way it always will be. It's a beautiful design. And it's something that it's nice to sort of lock into. And so I'll hop off my soapbox here. But I just wanted to explain what we were doing over the last couple of weeks, why we were gone for a couple of interesting little events back and forth. Trump's longest press conference. I see that I missed that. The whole Cracker Barrel debacle. We were able to record a little bit on that, but that's what we were doing. And now that we're back, ladies and gentlemen, refreshed and re-locked in, that's sort of what I learned in all of this. And so, thank you for joining us. Back in action Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025. New York Times got humiliated by me after a failed hit piece on my family. But it means something far greater than just what I went through. It means something about what we're fighting. We'll cover that today. Trump doubles down on sending Federal forces to Chicago. The mayor of Chicago saying slaves built Chicago. That's not true, actually. Illinois was always a free state. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's like Illinois fought with the Union. What? Like, the historical illiteracy here is mind-breaking. Speaking of mind-breaking, Greta Thunberg has unveiled a brand new haircut, and we're so excited about that. Along with a ton of other news, we will be covering President Trump's polling. Mark Mitchell, our favorite pollster, joins the program along with John Rich, country music legend from Big and Rich, out with some new bangers. They'll be live on the program. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. Okay, back at it again. It's wonderful to know, ladies and gentlemen, that even when you're out and when you're completely checked out and you're living, that your investments are working for you. The investment that has worked the best for me over the last couple of years has been my investment in gold. I invested in gold. Some people invest in Bitcoin. I have nothing against crypto. I like crypto. But the original crypto, the original gold is, well, gold. It's literal physical gold. So let me ask you a question. Do you really trust what Washington, D.C. is doing with your money? You obviously see the way the federal government is spending, and it doesn't seem to change with Republicans or Democrats. I hope that it does, but these kind of things are systems that are broken, quite frankly. They've been broken for a long time. Right now, millions of Americans are watching their retirement savings at risk. Sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, a broken system run by reckless people can really hurt you. There's a way out. You can legally move your IRA or 401k or TSP into physical gold and silver, assets that have helped protect wealth through every major economic crisis. Advantage Gold is showing everyday Americans how to do this step by step, and they're offering a free info kit and $1,000 in bonuses if you qualify. Text Benny to 85545 and learn how to get help breaking free from the broken system. Before the next leg of the crash wipes out even more savings, text Benny to 85545. Send that text right now. Data and message rates apply. Performance may vary. Consult your financial and tax professional. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Where do we even begin? I guess let's start at the real problem here when it comes to the corporate media is that they've been replaced. They've already been replaced. It's already happened, and now they're lashing out. And it's like a wounded animal doing their level-headed best to try and take a swipe or claw or damage or hurt those who have destroyed them. And the new media seat at the White House is a perfect example of this, a perfect crystallization of the insult to the legacy media that so many influencers, and who are some of the people that have been in that new media seat? Jack Posobiec was there, Brandon Tatum was there, some of our dear friends like Tim Pool was there, some of the people that have like really, can really like check someone into a wall because they have bigger followings, more active user base, more active chat, and shout out to the chat, freaking love you in the chat. And they have a bigger platform, and that's unspeakable for these legacy media outlets. They're so angry. Of course, they've been able to get off on propagandizing America and pushing such absolute and total hoaxes on us. So many hoaxes. I mean, we've lived through, like what we've lived through, just the enumerated psyops that we've all lived through in our lifetime has been obscene. It's broken people's brains, and you shouldn't trust the legacy media. They don't even trust themselves. It's wild because I was in the White House press briefing room and I got a chance to ask a question. Just so happened to be the eve of President Trump's historic crackdown on crime in Washington, D.C. And to a man, the reporters in that room were grateful for the crackdown on crime in D.C. Many corporate media reporters, the honest ones, have gone out on their airwaves and said thank you for cracking down on crime in D.C. Many liberal and legacy media reporters. There's a famous ABC News reporter who did this. There's a CBS News reporter who did this. There's a reporter for the Wall Street Journal. Some of these people, most of these people are not friends to Trump, but even they had to tell their stories about how horrible crime had gotten in D.C., how they had been robbed, mugged, thieved, carjacked. The assaults and the crime in D.C. was very much on par with collapsed third world like Somalia or Sudan or failed states, right? Port-au-Prince, Haiti. It was a failed narco state, and it is a scar on the face of this country, Washington, D.C., because every American's birthright is to be able to go to their nation's capital and to walk around freely and safely. And so President Trump set about fixing that, and the reporters in the room damn well know that it makes life better, absolutely, for every American that visits D.C., but without a doubt for those who work and live there, as I used to do. And I went into that room and I told my story. And I was given, it's funny, like a little pep talk beforehand. I was chatting up some of the, you stay back in the bullpen before they bring you out with that game show door, right? And the Price is Right music. The Price is Right music hits, right? They bring out the wheel. Vanna White comes in, and then the door slides open and they bring out the new media personality for the day. It's really an exciting moment. And then you get to hear all the corporate media reporters hiss. But beforehand, I'm sitting back there, and some of the press flacks for the White House are like, every single day we have another one of these corporate media reporters coming up to us talking about how they were thieved or they were assaulted or they had their bike stolen here on White House property. They are constantly complaining about the crime up to the very gates of the White House. Yet they are not allowed, because of the left-wing media outlets that they work for, to talk about it. It's terrible. It's dehumanizing, and it's a little bit of a trend we're going to talk about today. Anyway, I tell my story here at the White House, what happened to me and my family. Now, everything that I say here is true. All of it is backed up by either video, police records, physical, photographic evidence, police body cams, and so on. All of it. Everything I say here at the White House is completely true. TLDR, I'm going to spoil the ending here. The New York Times decided to write a hit piece on me asking this question.
So let's get started. And as always, we'll start with our new media seat, who is our podcast host today, Benny Johnson. Benny, why don't you kick us off, and thanks for being here.
Thank you, Caroline. As a DC resident of 15 years, I lived on Capitol Hill. I witnessed so many muggings and so much theft. I lost track. I was carjacked. I have murders on my Ring camera and mass shootings. I witnessed a woman on my block get held up at gunpoint for $20, and my house was set ablaze in an arson with my infant child inside. And so to any reporter that says and lies that DC is a safe place to live and work, let me just say this. Thank you. Thank you for making the city safe, because no parent should have to go through what my family went through, having the fire department rip open their door to save their infant child. And so thank you for your work on securing this city. My question to you is this. Nancy Pelosi has attacked the president for deploying the National Guard to the city, saying that it is to cover for his incompetence. Hillary Clinton has also attacked the president for securing the city of Washington, D.C. I'd like to get your response to Nancy Pelosi and Hillary Clinton.
Sure. Well, first of all, Benny, I'm so sorry that happened to you and your family. There have been, unfortunately, far too many victims of crime in this city, and I know the majority of residents in the District of Columbia agree with you. In fact, a new poll from the Washington Post I was reading this morning, this was released in May of 2024, so it's quite funny how many of you in the media agreed with what the president was saying yesterday, but now once the president says it, many of you are disagreeing with him. But this poll released by the Washington Post found that 65% of district residents think crime is an extremely serious or a very serious problem, and this was up from 56% last year. So the concern that you share with so many other residents in the District of Columbia is real, and that's why this president is taking action to address it. To get to the heart of your question, I think it's despicable that Democrats cannot agree that we need more law and order in a city that has been ravaged by violence, crime, murders, property theft. This should be a winning issue for all Americans. I don't understand. It's just anything President Trump does, the Democrats want to disagree with. I think the president would love to work with Democrats on this issue to bring law and order to America's cities, but unfortunately they have failed, and that's why he's taken this historic action to federalize the National Guard. And as you're seeing from last night's numbers, we already have seen success. We are removing violent offenders, we are arresting criminals, and we are removing drugs and firearms off of the streets of the city to make it safer for all of its residents.
Just a very quick follow-up to that. Given the heroic actions of a member of this administration just a few blocks from this building, will the president consider giving the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Big Balls?
I haven't spoken to him about that, but perhaps it's something he would consider. I'll ask him and get back to you, Benny. Thanks for being here.
Okay. So there you go. Not trying. We've already played the clip before. You know, that was a couple weeks ago. Not a big deal, right? It's too bad what happened, but it was a long time ago. And God has blessed us, and we've gotten over it, and we live a wonderful life here in Florida. I wouldn't have ever brought that up because nobody really likes somebody to talk about. Nobody liked the whole, like, feel sorry for me bit. Nobody's, we're not down on, like, the whole pejorative, self-reflective, navel-gazing around here, me, I, my experience. I just only brought it up because at the time there was a lot of lies about Washington, D.C. being safe. D.C. is safe. They're doing the same thing with Chicago right now. It's not safe. And when you have personal experience on these things that sort of cuts close to home and hits close to home, you got to throw down. Not just for my family, but for big balls, for any family. And by the way, the families that are the most affected by this are black families that probably vote for Kamala Harris. And I also throw down for them because, like, it's your birthright in this country to not be slaughtered on your doorstep and to not, like, die in a fire. And that's exactly what nearly happened to my family. I want to just, like, show you a couple photos here. Don't want to get too far into this. And the only reason we're relitigating this is because the New York Times decided to tell me that this never happened. I got contact with the New York Times reporter, Ken Bensinger. He's their media reporter at the Times. And he was very offended that I asked that question in the White House. He said my house wasn't set ablaze. What would you call that exactly? Now, this is the known drug house on my block. This is the Section 8 housing. This is the row house. You see how all the houses are connected? See this? Let me zoom in here. See this window? See the outline of the window? It's hard to see because of all the black toxic smoke. But see that's where my daughter, infant, 3 months old, happened to be sleeping at the time. What would you call that exactly, Ken? Ken reached out to me and said, I don't think you're being truthful about this. You know what's happening right here? 2 very large dogs, huge dogs, were being burned alive. These dogs are much bigger than my infant child. They were being burned to a crisp. It was just a matter of seconds before that fire, of course, engulfed and destroys my home. Thankfully, the DC Fire Department got there fast enough to stop the spread, not just from my house, but also to this house. Look at this. Here's a house. These are called row houses. They share walls. You know, you could hear my neighbors through the wall. I don't know. Why was I living there? Because I was poor. Because we didn't have anything. I don't come from money, and neither did my wife. My wife's family are humble farmers. And I grew up in like a cornfield. I worked on hog farms my entire life growing up. And so this is like, we didn't have any money. So this is where we could afford to live for our first house. This is the first house we ever bought. Yeah, it was in a bad neighborhood. Sucks. I was working in DC at the time. I didn't want to spend my life sitting in traffic. So this is where we were living. Now, let me ask you, any parents out there, any grandparents, any wannabe parents that just have a little bit of creativity? Like, if your daughter's sleeping there, and if this fire is raging here, and the homes share a wall, you know, for people who grew up in suburbia, and I grew up like with a home in the middle of nowhere, right? So my house was in the middle of freaking nowhere. But like the equivalent of this, and most people don't live in row houses, but like the equivalent of this is like there's a room in your house that's set on fire, and that room shares a wall with the baby's nursery. It's in the same house. So that's what's happening here. This is the same house. This is like how a row house is built. These historic row houses, they're all over like Boston and New York City and Washington, D.C. You go to any like older city, you'll find row houses or like apartment buildings in the modern day. Look, if the apartment next door to yours that you share a wall with is set on fire and your baby's sleeping up against the wall, your baby's in danger, horrible danger. Anyway, this is what happened to me. The New York Times decided to say, here you go. I'll give you all the information. Here's my house. Here's the house that had the arson set in it. Here's the firefighters putting out the fire so that it didn't completely burn my house to the ground like it did this house. Here's the house. Do you see the ashes and the burn and the black door? Do you see how my house is right next door to that house and how all of the smoke is traveling into my home, into my child's bedroom? Do you see? You know, I sent all these photos to the New York Times. I sent all this stuff to the New York Times. I said, what is wrong with you, you goblins? Like, what's going on? Like, you know, I was taking a break from the show. I had my lawyer do it. You know, I had my attorney do it. And I connected them with somebody who's, you know, been really helpful for me as, you know, who can sort of speak for me and does this professionally. He's a great dude named Andrew Colvett. And so I connected the reporter with people who had all the answers to all of this and all the truth about it. Here, look at this. So your child shares a wall with this house. That's what the fire damage did to this home. Your child shares a wall with that room. Do you think your child's in danger? Yes, my child was in danger. So the New York Times decided to text me. This is the reporter, Ken Bensinger, decided to text me, given all of this information, all of this evidence. Let me just throw the rest of the evidence out there. Here's the video. Here's the video of the fire and the like what was actually happening at the home next door. This is what happened when they burst in the door and broke it down. This is how bad things were. By the way, the fire was set in an arson, of course, because this major gang warfare on the block. This is because they defunded their police in Washington, D.C. The block was horribly, horribly dangerous. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the police crowbarring my door open. So this is now my door. The police were so eager to open up the door and save my family. I was on a work trip. My plane was landing at the time here, that they crowbarred open the door, broke open our home door, and there's my wife with our infant child sprinting out into the street in sobbing and in tears as the sirens wail. Screaming and running, holding our infant baby, having to grab the child as black smoke pours into our home. So all of this was sent to the New York Times, along with this video, which is a video, please unmute this, which is a video of the mass shooting on my block the night before. Listen to the shots. There you go. Hear that? That's a dozen shots. Hear the screaming? That's my yard. These are gangbangers getting shot. These are my neighbors, by the way, who were shot. 3 of them were shot and taken to the hospital after this. But the New York Times, given all of this evidence, decided to say you can't prove that your family was in danger. That's what the New York Times has decided to go with here. Now I can prove that. Here, ladies and gentlemen, is the text message I got. I'd be happy to publish the whole thing. I'm not trying to hide anything. This is the reporter saying, here's all the nasty things we're going to write about you. And I don't care. Come after me professionally. Come after whatever. You know, they're going after the success that we've had on the show, and they're going after, obviously, all of the various left-wing media hit jobs that have been pulled on me over my career. It's fine. It's like a rite of passage. I love that. I have a ton of scar tissue built up over that. I actually enjoy a brawling over every single hoax or every single left-wing media hit job that's been done on me. I think it's great. I think it's a badge of honor. Judge a man by his enemies. So I don't care about that. Write that. What are you going to write about me that hasn't already been written? This, however, enraged me. So here's his direct text message to me. This is a New York Times reporter. Direct text message to me. The footage of the fire, DC fire records show that on October 25th, the arson was actually in your next door neighbor's house. Do you see how the game they're going to play here? They're going to play stupid, like they don't know what a row house is. No humans were injured, although 2 dogs were killed. Get a load of this next line. This is the dude's exact message to me. You've stated your wife and children's lives were put at risk and nearly died. That can't be confirmed or denied based on the police reports, which make no mention that the neighbors were at risk. Really? No mention the neighbors were at risk, huh? Well, if the police didn't think I was at risk, why is there a police officer here on my door with a crowbar ripping my door open? Let's unmute this clip, please. Ripping my door open as the neighbors scream. Listen to the neighbors scream. There's a baby inside there. Listen to the neighbors scream. You can hear it from across the street.
What is going on? There's fire coming from the top of the house. Anyone else? Anybody else? No, that's it.
Oh, there's a fire. Get out. Quick, is there anyone else in there? There's a baby in there. Listen to the cops scream. Listen to the sirens wail. Listen to the urgency in the police officers' voices. Listen to the horror in my wife's voice. It's so hard to relive this, and I don't want to relive this. They forced me to relive this, these monsters. There's absolute demons and goblins. They've forced us to relive this. This is what the New York Times reporter, Ken Bensinger, in his messages to me, says, can't really prove that your wife was at risk. We can't prove that you or your children's lives were at risk. None of that means anything to us. So they go ahead and write the whole article. Benny Johnson promoted falsehoods. Oh, this is what they're saying. They're saying I promoted falsehoods by saying my family was under threat. The White House embraced them. Right-wing podcaster enjoyed rare promotion from the Trump administration. Rare access and promotion. And the entire article, I encourage you to read it. The entire article, this is called Burying the Lead, says that I exaggerated what happened to my family there at the White House. They go and they attack me for exaggerating what happened to my family. It wasn't really that bad. This is not that bad. In fact, a police record show nobody has been murdered since at least 2017 on the block where Johnson lived. Wait, whoa, hold on. 2017, I lived in the house at that time. I was living with my family in this home in 2017. I bought the house in 2016. So there wasn't a murder since the last murder? You dumbass? There wasn't any murders since the last murder. Duh. Oh, you're retarded. What is wrong with these people? Oh, enough people didn't get shot the night of the mass shooting? So the article straight up says that I'm lying about how dangerous my block is. Then it says there's murders on my doorstep, which, by the way, I know exactly who was murdered there. It happened while I was living there. That the mass shooting that left 3 people shot and in the hospital, that wasn't bad enough because they were bleeding out of my yard, but they didn't die. It wasn't bad enough. There should be more mass shootings, in fact. It's fun to have mass shootings, says the New York Times. Nobody got hurt. So, the people just got bullets through their bodies and went to the hospital. We should do more of that, says the New York Times. That should happen where little children are being raised. That's fun. Maybe it's because it's like 98% black neighborhood that the New York Times doesn't care. Is that why? Is that why you don't care? Because there's like 300,000 people shot in Chicago every year. They're going to quote me on that and say it's not exact. It's not 300,000. It's only 30,000. Whatever. They don't care. Oh, is it because it's black neighborhoods that the New York Times doesn't care? Really? They wouldn't even be talking about it if it wasn't for me like throwing down and saying this shouldn't be happening to anyone. I don't care who it's happening to. It's evil. I just happened to witness this, and my infant child really set this in stark relief how dangerous this all was. And then my house, this is my home. This is where my child's sleeping. And the New York Times says this is totally permissible. This is fine. This is fine. Then he's lying by saying his family was in danger. These bastards. Evil bastards. They really are evil bastards. And then they go on at the very end of the article. They go down to the very end of the article to talk about this. Go down to the very end of the article to talk about how the police reports do confirm that there was a mass shooting and that there was a fire, but the fire was in my neighbor's house. And they don't talk about row houses. They don't talk about my child's nursery. They don't contact my wife. So they attack my family. And before I get into just the rest of all of this, I want to just like state very clearly what is happening here. What's happening here is dehumanization. They're trying to live in a country. They want to live in a country where you don't have the right to life. And I'm talking abortion, but also beyond that. Your life means nothing to them. They'd rather you be dead. How can I say that? Oh man, that's a horrible thing, Benny. How can you say that? Well, because just a couple days ago, the number one trend on earth is Trump is dead. Because Trump like took a little break. It's like I did. Trump took a little break and decided to go golf with like his kids and chill out. At least I think that's what he was doing. I don't know. I don't know what Trump was doing. But he didn't have any events scheduled over the weekend. A lot of people take this weekend off. And so President Trump is out here trending, and the left is sitting here gooning over Donald Trump dying. They were like praying he's dead. It was all over my timeline. Every single tweet was some new leftoid praying for his death. Meanwhile, on this program, when Joe Biden is diagnosed with terminal cancer, we say a prayer for him. I think Joe Biden like damn near destroyed the country. Okay, him and Barack Obama. I can't tell you. I can't think of like even anything nice to say about them. But when I hear that one of them has a terminal illness, you say a prayer. You hope they live long. You hope that the days they have left, it was really up to God, are good days for them. You don't wish ill. You don't wish death or horrors on your enemies. Like on these political enemies, you keep your humanity. You hold tight to that humanity because it's literally what separates you from the animals. I don't want to live in a country where I'm sitting there hoping for death for my political enemies. I don't want to live in that country where my political enemies have their children nearly get burned alive in a fire, and I'm sitting there praying that it happens. That's, first off, it's corrupting to my soul. I mean, it's like terrible for you. Like you're the one who will pay the toll for doing that, for that kind of behavior. But you don't want to live. That's a failed state. That's a failed society. That's Rwanda. That is a horrible nation to live in. You don't want that. But that's what the left does want. They were praying for Trump's death this weekend just because Trump took a day off. There's a mass shooting in Minneapolis. Children in a church got blown out of their pews. 2 of them died. 2 of them are in intensive care. 17 total kids shot. And what did you find? Some of the leading voices on the left saying, I'm not even going to pray for these kids. Dude, these people are sick. What is wrong with you? You've lost your soul. You're demons, aren't you? You're demons. Oh, you're a demon. Ah, you're a demon. Just like the shooter. You know, you've lost your humanity. And you see this all the time. Margaret Thatcher died. They were like celebrating in the street. Margaret Thatcher dies, and there's like all the blue anon, all the leftoids, all the communists in England. They're all like celebrating. You know, that behavior is grotesque. Trump gets shot in the head. He gets shot in the head. And everyone, including like very famous people, Tenacious D, they're like a big band, is a good example. Reid Hoffman is a good example. He's like a billionaire. He started LinkedIn. Delete your LinkedIn, by the way. All these guys like were like wishing that the bullet had killed Trump. They were doing it publicly. They were like praying for it publicly. Tenacious D at a concert is like, I hope the shooter has better aim next time. That's what they said. That's what the guy said. Is the guitarist for Tenacious D. I mean, they like said that and everyone cheered. They're monsters, these people. And so it's not just me, okay? We're no victim, and I don't want to live the victim. But that's the greater overall trend. There's like a lack of humanity. Like, why would you ever like write a piece like this? They didn't reach out to my wife. They reached out to me and refused to like frame the article or like kill the article. You should just kill the article when it's like, here's all the videos and evidence. Like, okay, why would I ever write this? But instead, they decided to write it. In spite of all this hard evidence and police reports, the New York Times still does not think my wife or newborn were in danger that day. It's the kind of dehumanizing propaganda that actually gets people killed. Let me talk about it. From the celebration of the Trump assassination to the refusal to pray for the child victims of the Minneapolis mass shooting, the left's goal is to never grant sympathy to regular Americans, even if they're innocent children, these evil bastards. Judge a man by his enemies, I'm proud to have the New York Times work so hard on a hit piece about me. It's a badge of honor and a rite of passage. But leave my children and wife the hell out of it, you goblins. My attorneys have notified the New York Times will not suffer defamation or libel against my family. Tread lightly. Florida juries don't take kindly to far left-wing political assassins attacking innocent Florida children. And I'm proud to fight with President Trump so that every parent, even Ken Bensinger, no matter your background in politics, can walk freely and safely in our nation's capital. That is your birthright. You have a right to security in your homeland. There are those who think otherwise, and this is what we're fighting for. This has been seen by 4 million people, 17,000 reposts, 66,000 likes. Elon Musk engaged with it. Tons of members of Congress, senators, members of the Trump administration. Thank you, everybody, for your support on this. I guess here's the moral of the story. This is my daughter. That photo was taken 2 days ago. This is my daughter. Her name is Eloise. She was the baby that got rescued. She was trapped in the fire. And because of my wife, my heroic wife, and the DC police and fire department, I'm thankful for them. Here's Eloise. She's thriving today. And this is my family. God always has a plan. God always has a plan. Since moving to Florida, our family has grown and thrived, and we're living the American dream. If you're being attacked for the right reasons, it's a badge of honor. You should embrace it. And the demons really hate that. The people at the communists, the New York Times, they really hate it. This is what they ultimately hate. We're happy. They're miserable. We win. This is my family. This is what was our little beach trip. This was taken on our little beach trip. Look at this little guy. Look at that. Look at that belt. Look at Baby Whitaker. Look at that belt. Look at his belt game. Look at that kid. He's styling. He's styling. That's little Theodore. This is Eloise. She was trapped in the fire. She's alive and well and thriving today. Juliet, my daughter. 2 daughters, 2 boys. It's my wife, Kate. And that's my family. And these are the blessings of God. And the providence of God to bring us out of that hellhole, to save our family, and to bring us down to a land flowing with milk and honey. Or whatever you want to say about Florida. Flowing with alligators and with plenty of sunburns. Whatever. And mosquitoes. I don't care. I love it here. It's like, haters gonna hate. Doesn't matter to me. That's it. That's what happened. We've summarily destroyed the New York Times. Are we gonna sue them? I don't know. I have calls with my lawyers. I don't know. Just got a phone with Fox News. They're gonna write this all up. This is it's the most viral post on X yesterday. And we have the receipts. What a sick thing But I just want to say thank you all for giving me the profound opportunity to lock in with my family, to experience what true utopia, euphoria, or as close as you can get to heaven on this earth actually is, which is peacefully enjoying your children and the family that God has given to you on this earth, and just as close to heaven as you will get. Thank you for allowing me that in the last couple of weeks. And most importantly, fighting the evil that wants children to die and wants to grant you no sympathy when horrors happen to your family. You don't want to live in a country like that. You don't want to live in that country. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to fight to ensure that we don't. Remember, they're miserable, and we're happy. And in the end, we win. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. Monologue over. We'll see what happens next. But boy, we dragged old Ken, and it's time. It's time to lock in, fight back for what really matters. Ladies and gentlemen, we've done a lot of talk about family on this program. If you've been living on credit cards with your family just to cover grocery bills, gas bills, interest rates are absolutely brutal. Why keep paying 20% or more to banks when you can call my friends at American Financing? Have their mortgage rates in the 5s, and they're showing people every single day how to keep more of your hard-earned money in your pocket and out of the hands of credit card companies. Right now, American Financing is helping homeowners save an average of $800 a month using the home equity that they have to wipe out high-interest debt with no upfront fees or obligations, just a 10-minute call to a salary-based mortgage consultant. Here's the kicker. If you start today, you can delay mortgage payments for multiple months and put more cash in your hands right away. Don't wait. Call American Financing today. 888-528-1219. That's 888-528-1219. AmericanFinancing.net/Benny. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that we have a spectacular guest and somebody that I always love chatting with. The great Mark Mitchell, who is he finally here to announce that President Trump is more popular than Barack Obama. Now, production team, I want that polling. I need that polling. I want to see it. Mark's here to chat about it. Our favorite pollster on earth, Mark Mitchell, live right now. Mark, what's up, man? How you doing?
Great. Yeah, it's finally happened. That 10-day moving average of Trump 47's approval rating, that approval finally crossed Obama 1.0. 2009, politics Jesus. And the most hated in politics is now more popular than Barack Obama was at this point in his term.
There you go. There it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
Now, that green arrow is pointing to Joe Biden's September 2nd, 2021 data point. Absolutely horrifying. But the reason that's important is because today marks a very, very, very important anniversary. One of the most important days, I think, in the course of American human events. And that's the Coastal Carolina football game where the Joe Biden chants started for the very first time. Very important anniversary.
Right after the Afghanistan debacle. Yeah. Yep. Okay. So show me. That's great. It's a great time for a cheer, actually. So show me the chart again. Talk me through this chart, just really as you know, you would to a very loyal Labrador. So what you're looking at here is you're looking at Barack Obama. You're looking at the net approval of Trump term 1, Biden Trump term 2, and then both Obama terms.
Yeah, this is about the first year in each person's term, and we're tracking net approval. So that's approve minus disapprove. And it goes all the way back to the first term of Obama. That's the light purple. The dark purple is the second term of Obama. You know, the color's a little dark, but shows up better, you know, on the screen at Twitter. So go there and check it out. But then the blue one is Biden, and then the light, the dark red one there is Trump's first term. And so you can see that he came in with nothing like the honeymoon that Obama got. People thought Obama was going to come in and just change politics and fix everything, including the financial crisis. And obviously, with a collapse of 30 points in net approval rating in just the first 6 months of his presidency, they were wrong. There was complete disillusionment. And so now Trump, because of the very violent rhetoric and the discourse in modern politics and the existential nature that we're in, did not really have a honeymoon this time out. He came in with a couple of really high readings, but then settled into this net +0 to net +5 range. And then, the summer wasn't kind to him. He took a few points of a hit. I think a lot of that was attributable to the big, beautiful bill and, unfortunately, the Epstein stuff. But he's kicking around there higher than everybody else. You can see it a lot better in the moving average chart, which I can put up later. But yeah, he's the most hated man in politics. The news media has done literally everything. 95% negative coverage, ubiquitous attempts to probably coordinate with their own intel agencies to conduct psychological operations against the American populace. And yet there he is, Teflon Don. And, I think there's probably some room to the upside because a lot of the things that Trump is doing are very popular. You talked about DC crime, and we polled on him bringing the National Guard in. That's a net +9 situation when he was underwater. So it continues to this day. His core MAGA policies are more popular than he is. The problem is he's not necessarily getting full credit for them. And can he get more? I think he can. But the Republicans, I think, have to play ball, and they're not right now.
So I'm seeing it right there. President Trump more popular than Obama or Biden around August 23rd, it looks like, August 22nd to 25th, right there.
Yep.
And so,
and you can see, look at this, look at Trump's first term.
Years. Yeah.
Look how low it got. It was off the chart. Trump had a 37% approval rating in the August of 2017, and that was entirely attributable to the stuff that was going on with the Russia collusion hoax, which we all now know. I mean, we knew at the time, but everybody now knows was a complete, well, there's still 60% of Democrats that think that Donald Trump colluded with Russia, but there's also criminal accountability coming, I think, because 57% of voters say, well, listen, if officials did manipulate intelligence data to get Trump, they should go to jail. And I'm all for it because this literally destroyed Trump 1.0's political capital. And it was totally fake. It was a construct of the Hillary Clinton campaign in coordination with Barack Obama and the heads of his intelligence agencies. It was a coup. And you can see it right there on the chart. Pretty ugly stuff.
So you're saying now that at this point, in his second term, Trump's more popular than Obama.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's going to be hard for people to take. That's really going to be hard. The left is already sort of running on fumes, and they don't have a really deep bench. We're seeing that every single day that a new Jasmine Crockett or AOC clip surfaces. And people are retiring and resigning en masse. And Jerry Nadler's gone and so on, some of the pillars of the party. And they seem to be slipping, and their last sort of hope, you saw Barack Obama crawl out from wherever he's been living and say, well, it's time for us to, we got to fight back against redistricting. Him and Eric Holder, they're like spinning the oldies here, but the oldies don't even hold up that well.
Yeah, no, this is we're in a very tricky situation because two things can be true at once. And I also, on my Twitter, I just put up the moving average chart. It's much clearer if you want to have them bring it up. Two things can be true at once. The Democrats can be in an utterly catastrophic situation where long-term they face massive losses. They're losing Hispanic voters that they thought would be their long-term secret to a supermajority. They're probably going to really get nailed in the 2030 census because all the people that migrated out of blue states during COVID. And then also, I'm pretty sure the 2030 census isn't going to count illegals like the 2020 census did. And then also in 2020, we might get a redo at that census, which probably took about 15 seats from Republicans. And then if you compare gerrymandering, it's more heavily in Democrat states. So there's an opportunity for Republicans to expand the map. That talks about long-term, though. And there's, like you said, there's no leader. like Gavin Newsom is the person out there really standing on the top of the soapbox right now. And his numbers, he is losing to JD Vance in matchups, and his polling is still worse than Kamala Harris is, and she's nowhere to be found. So really nobody's out there putting their neck on the line. And the stuff that Gavin Newsom's doing, I don't think it's going to help him either. He's acting like a complete internet douche, and he's not. People want policies that are going to make their lives better, because after the Biden administration, people are beyond this sort of, well, I just want my team to win. I think a lot of them really, that middle, really have problems with grocery prices, really have problems with jobs. And so they're more concerned about real policies. There's a shift towards economic populism. This isn't going to be Republicans and Democrats arguing about whether we should cut or raise taxes anymore. This is about, what are you going to do to fix the economic imbalances? But then the problem is 26. And so, yeah, Newsom doesn't look like he's going to win 28, according to my polling. I think JD Vance is by far the favorite among Republicans. Among primary voters, he's beating Rubio and DeSantis by 5-1. So, I mean, things can change. Like, he can have a mask off moment like I think Vivek probably did. But it looks like right now it's going to be JD Vance against Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom. And I think people should probably like those odds. But Republicans are down 4 points on the generic ballot right now. That's the problem. There's not one major pollster, even the good ones, that have Republicans winning the generic ballot. So technically, unless a lot of redistricting happens, that means Republicans are going to lose seats in Congress, which they can't really afford to do. And quite frankly, they're probably going to lose the House. And I think Trump's doing the most he can. I think, look, he's calling for an RNC in the summer of 26. He's going to go out there on the stump for a lot of these Senate candidates that he wants to win, but there's only so much he can do for these local races in the House. The RNC seems like it's completely MIA. I've heard complaints about them not sending support, not sending money, not getting engaged quick enough with big races like the Chitterelli race in New Jersey. And we're seeing what's happening in these special elections. The RNC was nowhere to be found in that special election in Iowa that got rid of the Republican supermajority. The DNC was all over that thing. They spent a lot of money. And so what are the Republicans doing? They're doing nothing legislatively. The 119th Congress has been embarrassing. There's only 50 days left of in-session days in the year. And I think next year is the window's closing. Next year is going to go real fast. And I don't hear them talking about any major plans. I think they're going to just try and do one major reconciliation attempt and basically pass nothing else. And they can say all they want about it. Well, the rules don't let us do it. Oh, there's the filibuster limit. Americans don't care. They really don't care, because only 30% of them trust the federal government. They assume they're being lied to, right? And so until we see an output, like, the numbers are just bad for Republicans. And people will say, oh, look at the Quinnipiac number. The Democrat Party is only 19% favorability. That's a fake number. They're less favorable than they were, but they're only below Republicans by a point in my polling. It's 46 to 47%. And they actually have an advantage. Which party cares more about people like you? Republicans have a 10-point disadvantage on that. 10-point disadvantage on my congressman thinks like I do. And then you look at 2024 Trump voters, only 38% of them have a very favorable impression of Republicans in Congress. So I think overall, the feeling is that Republicans want a mandate, because we had polling that said that there was a mandate, right? And that the Republicans are not cashing in on that. They're not upholding their end of the bargain. They're being a drag on Trump. And there's only, at the end of the day, so much that Trump can do. So that's what we're watching for November of 2026. Can things change? Can, an economic boom usher in a golden age and Republicans get credit for it? Maybe. But history tells us they're going to lose the House. And the polling tells us at this point as well. And I don't see a lot of, they sent a delegation off to Israel. That's the most visible thing they did during this summer break, and there's no messaging, period, whatsoever, except what comes out of the White House and what comes out of JD Vance.
Yes, and I guess that's what the hope has got to be, is to hang on to a 1 or 3 seat majority, like cling for dear life to that majority. Don't rock the boat, and to ride Trump's coattails until they can get redistricting done, or until a census sort of clobbers any chance of Democrats winning the House by any practical means that we've understood for the last 30 years. because the census, I mean, I was up in the Panhandle, and I was meeting with some guys that are very close to Tallahassee, and they understand that Florida is going to try and add 4 more seats, just like Texas. And when you add all that up, it seems like it's going to, that strategy may well save Republicans this cycle. And it seems to just be triage in order to get through 2030 when Florida gets, I mean, add then 5 more seats to not just Florida, but to Texas too. I mean, that's the way that the census is going. Mass delete criminal aliens who are voting. It's always so funny to hear can't have ICE at the polling stations. That'll hurt our votes.
Yeah.
Wait a second, you're telling on yourself.
That's the point.
But it seems like the whole Hail Mary here, Mark, is to just try and like not rock the boat enough to just cling on to a majority for like sunnier hills ahead, to like get through the storm for the next, to be able to get to what's going to be some pretty green pastures in 20. I mean, do you see that strategy? And what would you advise from a polling perspective, the White House in order to tick those numbers back up?
Yeah. I think it's basically, in my opinion, like I didn't study all semester and now I'm staying up late and doing a crash session before the exams. It looks gross. It feels gross. And they had a mandate. They should have just been aggressive and passed Trump's agenda. And you can say, oh, well, again, they can't get it through the Senate. Well, they had a lot of opportunities in the reconciliation. First off, they could have shut down the government because voters actually support that. If the Republicans and Democrats shut down the government, work together to achieve spending cuts, that's a strong majority, like 55, 60% position, including like almost 80% of Republicans. And I preach that every time that this debt limit comes and nobody listens to me. And there was, again, Chuck Schumer tried to call their bluff about it. And then what happens is one big, beautiful bill. It's like a DC monstrosity. It's 3,000 pages full of garbage that's probably been promised to people for years and years. Finally, a Republican gets into the White House who can sign it into a bill, and then Trump wants some successes, so they slap a MAGA veneer on it, and it didn't affect his numbers at all. There was no bounce. So this idea that it was some like centerpiece of his legislative agenda, it didn't affect his numbers at all. In fact, they were plunging at the time. And then the problem with redistricting is, again, who's doing this? It's like, okay, well, you have Republican governors, Republican legislators that are going to step in and carry water for the national Republican infrastructure that, quite frankly, sucks. It's completely outclassed by the Democrats because Democrats ubiquitously vote in party lines. They have a massive machine. They get their money. People say, oh, the DNC has a fundraising disadvantage. Don't worry. Money's pouring in through Act Blue right now. Don't worry, they'll get their money. They'll spend $3 billion in this midterm race. The problem with gerrymandering too is that it's ugly. It's not voters picking their elected representatives. It's the other way around. We asked this question in 2024 elections. Republicans got 45% of the vote in Illinois, but hold only 3 of the state's 17 House seats, which is 18%. Does this kind of result undermine American democracy? 57% yes. 21% no. Then we say, okay, well, which party is more likely to engage in partisan gerrymandering? And people think Republicans are 38% to 33%. So they don't know what all the maps are. And if everybody's out there making hay, the press is, a solid front saying, look at these Republicans undermining democracy. A lot of people are going to believe it. And so you can't just go out there and expect something like this to bail you out. It looks ugly. And what they should be doing is passing good single-page laws that are what Americans want. Things like voter ID, things like maybe a national school voucher, like things that Americans want and never get because they can't get the pork that they want if they don't have a 3,000-page bill. And we've pulled on the filibuster too, and this isn't a massive amount of support, but in the Senate, a filibuster can prevent a vote from taking place unless 60 senators agree. Some want to change the Senate rules so that a vote must be held whenever a majority of senators agree. Favor or oppose? 39% favor, 49% of Republicans, only 34% of Republicans are opposed. So that's on the table. And we know the Democrats have talked about doing it. They're going to do it when they get in control of the Senate. Before they did it, Harry Reid did it for judicial appointments. So why is this so sacrosanct, this made-up rule that's not in the Constitution? Why is there always something like the parliamentarian? There's always something standing in the way of Republicans doing what Americans want. And I'll tell you, Mike Johnson stood on the halls of Congress on November 12th, 2024. And man, read that speech. The amount of promises he made, it's embarrassing, because he objectively is not and has not done any of that. Now, he obviously overpromised. I'm sure he's in a tough spot. I'm sure there's limitations. But at the end of the day, the inescapable fact is the Republican establishment still firmly has control of the reins of what happens in America. And Trump came in and did a lot. He's had a lot of successes. You know, the courts are shutting him down left and right on some of this stuff, but I think he'll prevail. But at the end of the day, the Republican Party is the same old Republican Party that just can't wait for him to leave. They want to run Romney again. And they're going to run the race like Romney. The candidate is going to talk like Romney, and he's going to get a Romney turnout, because he's not going to get any of these crossover Democrats or independents who, quite frankly, are looking at Trump with skepticism now after this summer. And so there's a path forward. I think Trump's obviously got some plans here. There's a lot of accountability stuff coming. We'll see how that impacts things. We'll see if there's an election integrity task force that aggressively goes after these people. I'm hearing talks that there's stuff happening in the election integrity front, maybe that Make Elections Secure Again bill. Maybe they're going to go after the Russian collusion hoax and throw all these people in jail. But there needs to be brutal accountability, because you can't just take a corrupt agency, a corrupt federal government, and swap out the leaders and expect Americans to be like, okay, everything's fixed now. They don't think it is.
Well, very quickly, you just lightly mentioned 2028. What's your landscape look like right now? And I love how hard you go at the Republican Party. Like, we're not here to be the North Korea eunuch hype men, right? Like, it's good to have an aggressive hold up of the side, right, from your friends. You know, this is how men talk, actually, to ensure that people understand the world around them. And you can't solve a problem if you can't talk about it. So in 2028, so as much as like we dog, and I'm happy to do it on various Republicans, man, 2028 looks freaking rough, dude, for Democrats.
Yeah, it does. JD Vance is already beating Newsom in head-to-heads in my polling by 3 points.
And you think it's Newsom? You think that's going to be the lock?
Well, here's the quandary: is that every time I do a GOP Democrat multi-way matchup for the primary, it's always Kamala Harris on top. She was the vice president. She's had $3.5 billion. Yeah, still. Now the numbers have been going down. I think it started at 41. I think it's down to like 32% last time. But there was the biggest psychological operation in history to try and convince everybody that all of a sudden, even though she was the worst vice president, that she's the savior of American politics. Like they tried to pull a female Obama on her, and it almost worked. A lot of people's minds were made up. 18 to 29-year-old women went 20 points left in like a 3-week period. It was absolutely wild. And so, she had all those actors and actresses and late night TV segments and all the whole 9 yards. They gave her the
coconut psyop, we call it. Coconut psyop.
Remember, it was a
TikTok dance, Mark. They danced to a coconut song on TikTok.
What's so hilarious is that it would have worked if Joe Biden hadn't been as bad as he was. Like, that's Obama's, quote about never underestimate Joe Biden's ability to. That's why the Democrats lost, because they were doing their whole, they're doing their whole mid 2000s things. They had her on The View. They had all that stuff, but people are past that because things got bad. People, fractured and fragmented into the internet. They're looking more for independent online sources. You were talking about the New York Times. We just polled on how many people trust the New York Times. It's only 11% of 18 to 29-year-olds who say they have a lot of trust. So the legacy media really is legacy.
The New York Times specifically?
Yeah. Jeez. Oh, yeah. How much trust do you have in the news coverage from the New York Times? 23% of America still says a lot of trust, but only 11% of 18 to 29-year-olds, only 27% of 30 to 39-year-olds. And 44% say not much trust or no trust at all, including 47% 18 and 29-year-olds. But we've been tracking news consumption. We talked on your show about how wildly different people who watch MSNBC and CNN are from people who watch Fox News and Newsmax. And objectively, the issue sets from Fox News viewers are correct. It was like the border and prices. That's what you should be concerned about. That's what 80% of them were concerned about. With CNN and MSNBC, 75% of them were concerned about abortions and threat to democracy. So that is literally gaslighting and brainwashing. And we don't know how it's affected the polling completely yet, but people are actually more happy with media bias. Believe it or not, we had 60% of people thinking the media was the enemy of the people just 2 or 3 years ago. Numbers going down. We only have 43% of people who say, no matter how much you hate the media, you don't hate them enough. That number was almost 50%. And it's because like 22% of people actually think the press is friendly to Trump now. That number was 4% 8 years ago. And it's because people are finding news that they trust, especially people under 50. And so you've seen the ratings, like CNN and MSNBC combined in the primetime demo are being doubled by Fox News. They've completely imploded. And I don't know what it's going to mean for the left. They've gone to Reddit, they've gone to Blue Sky, and now all of a sudden they're back on Twitter. But they don't own Twitter anymore. And people are getting, people like you are breaking through to folks, and that's going to be different. So their ability to lie to people is going to be diminished, the ability to have this violent rhetoric. But I think there's going to be this chunk of people who are going to become more true believers. And we're not out of the woods yet. I mean, we had some pretty horrifying stuff. 38% of people under 40 said that the murder by Luigi Mangione of the United Healthcare CEO was understandable because of the cost of healthcare. So that's kind of the dark side of everybody fragmenting into online news consumption. Ooh. But, people over 65, they're the ones that say it's harder to get news you can trust. People under 30 are pretty much split. Yeah, I can find that news I can trust. They're most likely to say that. So trends are changing. There's a major realignment happening right now. 18 to 29-year-olds, people say broke really hard right. The 30 to 39-year-olds did. The 18 and 29-year-olds, we have new polling we can report back on next week, are actually like super economic populists. And they support Trump because they think he's going to change these things. I think a lot of them would just as soon vote Bernie if they can't vote Trump. So that's, we're talking about things like, it looks like the polling is going to say that they support stuff like income caps and wealth distribution.
Got to be smart. Got to play your cards right. Republican Party, it's like it truly is a once in a generation opportunity. And the left has already made these major claims, and they say it all the time about what they're going to do when they get the reins of power back. And it's going to be really, really bad for the country. Not to mention just all of the, not to mention like this, they're going to do this again to us. They're going to do the coconut. They're going to bring the coconut dance back. You're telling us this, Mark. And it's like the most horrifying thing I've heard probably live on this show is that they're going to plan on running the coconut psyop one more time about Kamala Harris.
Well, they're going to try again. They have their R&D program diligently at work. They have intel agents probably on Reddit testing out all the new headlines, trying to find the new narratives. Then they're going to shove it down people's throat on Instagram, and we're probably going to see stuff that's horrifying. But again, I think like they're preaching to a smaller and smaller choir. Yeah. And I just don't know where it's going to go, because also we have this trend of increasing violent rhetoric. And things do look like they're getting more and more existential. Like think about what we're talking about. States completely doing away, like California, with all Republican representation, all of it. That's what Gavin Newsom wants to do. And now is that what we're going to be? Is we're going to be a nation, a federation of states where if you're in a blue state, you have no representation? We're going to a dark place. And again, it's because literally our legislative ability to fix the country is gone. That's why we're into these things that are not, this is not the way a constitutional republic is supposed to operate. So people should not be proud and happy about this redistricting push. It's a step in the wrong direction. And the problem is, again, like Trump can come in and fix a lot of this stuff, but at the end of the day, we're stuck in this situation where we have zero institutional trust. Everything's been completely corrupted. Nobody really understands America. And 18 to 29-year-olds, as this polling is going to say, very few of them are actually doing really well. A lot of them say they're just getting by or struggling. Yes. The numbers about mental health are horrifying. We have 40% of 18 to 39-year-old liberals, 43%. Say they've been diagnosed with a mental health condition, and you say, oh, well, look, it's the liberals. Well, it's also 35% of 18 to 39-year-old conservatives, and 23% of all Americans say that they're actually taking mind-altering medication. And then the dating numbers are super bad. Like 18 to 39-year-old men, 40% of them who are single just say, you know what, I'm not even dating anymore. I'm just not looking for it. So society's got to step up and fix a lot of these problems. And I think, again, we talked about the fourth turning. I think that's the situation we're in. And we thought Trump would come in and it'd be a golden age. Well, it's like, no, there's a lot of Democrat governors. There's a lot of Democrat legislators that have an incentive to keep resisting in order to keep pushing us towards whatever this accelerationist edge they have is. We'll see where it goes.
We'll see. Okay, so you talk really quickly here. Blue state, no Republican representation. That's not exactly the case in New Jersey, but it's close. What's going to happen in this governor's race?
I don't know yet.
In your home state.
Yeah, I actually went to a Chitterelli rally 2 weeks ago. It was interesting. I think he's talking the right ways. And I also think that as a candidate, Mikey Sherrill, she checks a lot of boxes, you have to admit. And that's what the Democrats' plan is. The Democrats' plan is they fill a vacuum by appealing to their most radical leftist ideologies. But then when it comes time to print the TV ad runs, then it's, oh, we're super moderate. And look at this. I'm hugging my children and I'm a veteran. And I used to fly fighter jets in red, white, and blue all over the place. They run as patriots. And the problem is that that's going to work on a lot of people. I haven't pulled that race yet. I'm going to do it in probably 2 or 3 weeks. My sad hunch, and again, I'm a pessimist. That's the way I feel that I need to be in order to be accurate. And I think the issue with Chitterelli is that in 21, he was riding on a wave of a lot of anti-Murphy and anti-COVID lockdown anger. People were really, 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 really pissed off in New Jersey. And it's like, okay, well, Trump's in office. Things are moving in the right direction. Right direction polling for Republicans is super high. It's like 75%. I think the Republicans are fighting the couch this time. I think there's going to be complacency. And the Republicans don't have a machine without Trump on the ballot. They just don't. They're doing literally nothing. And so that's the biggest concern. That's hopefully what I would like people to take away from this segment, is that the Republican organization is not in this to make the Republican Party be the party of economic populism. It's just not. They want MAGA to go away so they can get back to what they normally do, which is collect big donor money that comes from special interests and funnel that all into consulting funds. And okay, if we win some elections, that'd be great too, but let's run safe candidates, because over the last 20 or 30 years, that's what we figured out works. Those people are all still there. Just because we have the precinct strategy and people joining the precincts, well, that precinct guy that just joined, he reports up to a precinct chair, that reports up to a county committee, that reports up to a state committee, that reports up to the RNC. But then you also have the NRCC, the NRSC, you have the RGA, all these organizations, like 95% still the same people. They didn't go in and clean house at the RNC, is my understanding. And so all of those people think they know better than Americans voters, their own constituents. And people say, oh, well, you just got to run more MAGA people. You got to primary those rhinos. There's only so much that can do. And this system has built itself in order to resist changes like that. It's a very set in its ways, a lot of inertia in this Republican organization. So that's what I think J.D. Vance is up against. And I think he knows it, but he's got a lot of work to do. They got to get new money in here. They got to get better strategists. They got to get better researchers. They got to get people who can message better, who can train and vet people. Trump should have had an army of thousands and thousands of people to dump into all of these organizations. 98% of the federal government is still the same people that it was a year ago.
Slaying dragons, ladies and gentlemen, and being honest, the first way that you solve a problem is you have to be able to look at it squarely in the light of day, is what Mark Mitchell of Rasmussen Reports does. And he's never told a lie in this program. In fact, he's only ever predicted the future. And so, ladies and gentlemen, go log in and follow him. He's the single most honest pollster. In fact, his handle is Honest Pollster. So he's this, I don't know. I appreciate that, Mark. That's what we call him, and that's what he does. And he has a couple warning signs here for Republicans. And so lock in. Thank you, Mark. Godspeed.
Great to be here. Thanks for helping me lose followers. I think that message probably pissed a few people off, but we'll see.
Appreciate the honesty. Godspeed. Ladies and gentlemen, as we are back from our break, it's wonderful to have things that just kind of operate in the background. The streaming show is just not one of those things. So we take a break from that. But having things that are able to just hit and hit and hit correctly, even when you're logged off, is important. Your investment strategy should be one of those things. Money never sleeps, as they say. And that's why I use Allio Capital. Allio Capital is a spectacular investment app that allows for me to hedge against some major global events from a macro perspective. This is so important because our show follows these things all the time. And I often, when you're dealing with people that are at banks or money managers, you're like, don't you understand what's going on? The market forces here. They don't understand these things. Allio does, however, and you want to be able to predict the future. That's how you make sure that you stay sound in your investments. In the palm of your hand, Allio Capital uses very powerful AI in order to predict these events and adapt your portfolio in real time. Download their app at the App Store or Google Play. Text my name, Benny, to 511-511. That's A-L-L-I-O, Capital. Text Benny to 511-511. Download the Allio app or text Benny to 511-511 today. All right, ladies and gentlemen, somebody who will never release a Kamala Harris coconut song, at least we don't think so. And if he did, then what we would do is we'd show up at his house with an exorcist. I know where he lives, and I would show up with an exorcist. I'd say, John Rich, no more coconut songs. That's what I'd say. And, we'd see what happens next. He does own a lot of firearms, so don't show up unannounced. So, ladies and gentlemen, the great country music legend John Rich joins our program live right now. John, welcome back. Sorry, I don't mean to insult you by saying that you'd ever write a coconut song for Kamala Harris. I apologize.
Coconut rum. That would make sense for her.
Okay, that's right. True. I think we've now proven, right, that she is just a dysgenic alcoholic. Anybody who's following her on social media can just clearly understand this.
Yeah, she's fun at parties, no doubt about it. I've never been to a party with her, and I hope I never am. But you can bet the girl knows how to make a cocktail.
It's funny, in this whole Cracker Barrel news cycle that's happened over the last 2 weeks, part of the commentary that I kept getting in the replies was that Cracker Barrel went downhill when they started serving alcohol, to the point about Kamala Harris, and that it used to be a good Christian company, and that they've changed the core of who they were, and that this was just the end result, the final assassination of what Cracker Barrel truly is. And I haven't really heard your thoughts on this. I know you sent a couple tweets, and I know that you live in Tennessee, where Cracker Barrel was founded. And so I just wanted to start with that, John. What's your take on all this?
Well, when we found out, it wasn't really the logo that did it. It's when we started digging into it and going, oh, these people, Cracker Barrel is funding, trans events for kids. They are full blown. Their DEI programs are absolutely full blown. Somehow they managed to skate under that radar when all that was being blown up. Because I guess who would ever think in a million years Uncle Herschel would be all about trans parties for kids? But when we dug deeper, we found that out. I think that's what really broke them. I don't think it was the logo thing. I think it was digging down into it, and they went, oh crap, we're exposed. And there were a lot of people doing that, digging deep and finding that stuff out. I call it being Dixie chicked. So there's two things. Cancellation is when a small group of people turns Benny Johnson off. They just kill his signal. That's cancellation. Capitalism is when the general public moves in mass away from something. So like in the Dixie Chicks case, the country music audience, when they got upset at them, they just stopped buying their records, stopped going to their concerts, and told country radio, we're not going to listen to you if you're playing their music. And that was the end of them. They weren't really canceled. They were a result of capitalism at work. Cracker Barrel, this is not cancellation on Cracker Barrel. This will just be mass public, kind of like Bud Light. Will people get over what it is they learned about Cracker Barrel and eventually go back in there and start ordering food? I mean, I drove past a Cracker Barrel a couple of weeks ago when all this was happening in Lebanon, Tennessee. on a Saturday afternoon, and it was empty. And I'm telling you, if you've never been to a Cracker Barrel on a weekend, you can't get in. Like you walk in the door and it's lined out the door, and they're like, it's going to be an hour and 20-minute wait, and people still wait and they do their shopping or whatever. There was nobody there. There's the picture right there. I mean, it looked like maybe the employees were there, and that's about it. So time will tell if they'll survive this or not.
It's so terrible, and we have this this image that I find so hysterical from Cracker Barrel. All of the various special interest groups that Cracker Barrel decided to found. Like, nobody ever asked for the OLA or the Be Bold, like Black group or Hispanic group or the Alphabet Alliance or the Neurodiverse Collective. What the hell is that? Women's Connect. What was Cracker Barrel being used for? And this is, I think, the painful irony, right? So all the people a part of the Be Bold initiative, which is for Black leaders, for young Black leaders within Cracker Barrel. So many of the clips of Cracker Barrel waitresses coming out are young Black women who are like, I got no tables. I made $10 today. Mm-hmm. I've made no money. Like the wokeness actually ends up only ever benefiting the smug girl boss white liberal ladies who are at the very top of the pyramid and hurting the people they claim to be supporting here. Like this is actually the clip right here of the waitress. And it's, your heart breaks because I've been a server, I've been a waiter, I've done plenty of manual labor. And you get totally destroyed by a decision by this harebrained lady to go out and to wreck this brand. There's millions of people that survive off of them just keeping Cracker Barrel. And I think I guess it's a lesson that has to be relearned again and again and again. Time is a flat circle.
Okay, so these women, this woman at Cracker Barrel, they're supposed to be marketing experts. Like they oversee the marketing of companies that have $1 billion+ market caps. At Bud Light. So they went to school and they got their marketing degree or whatever the hell they did. Listen, if you are a marketing person and your job is to successfully market the brand to where it gets more successful and more successful, to pay your shareholders back, to create more energy for the brand, and by the way, to advance yourself, because if the numbers go up under your watch, that makes you look like a really great marketer. So you'll wind up with even better job. Benny, these people are actually stupid people. They're stupid people. Okay? If you put me or you in charge, let's say we had to go make money for the family. We had to do it. We'll take a job. Somebody offered me a job. And I got a job working for a company that's really liberal, but I'm a big time conservative. Okay? But I want to succeed in that job because I want to make more money for my family, and maybe someday I'll work at a company that's not liberal. There is no way in hell that I say, okay, let's take liberal brand XYZ and let's talk about the Second Amendment, and everybody's going to be in big 4-wheel drive pickup trucks and waving American flags, and we're going to give away a free MAGA hat every time you buy one of our products. That's how idiotic that would be. I mean, you would crash that brand. You would kill the brand. You would kill it. And so it's not only that they're ideologues, they are stupid people. Straight up. I mean, I have a high school diploma, but I'm a marketer, as you well know. Redneck Riviera. I'm in 11,000 stores around the U.S. I mean, look at your show. You market your show. You market your message. We know who our audience is, and we know who we are, and we fortunately get to talk to our own audience. We don't have to work for somebody that we disagree with. But we're not stupid. I mean, can you imagine if I said Redneck Riviera whiskey with a new rainbow bottle? I mean, can you even? I mean, that's how dumb they are. So I'm just still astonished at the level of just absolute abject stupidity that these people put onto these brands. But Bud Light being king of them all, but Cracker Barrel is a close second, I think, right now. Harley Davidson's another one. John Deere's another one. Robbie Starbuck went one by one and just started blowing these things up left and right. And I thought they had all learned their lesson, but apparently Cracker Barrel hadn't yet. And yes, I feel terrible for that waitress. That's a tough job. And she's trying to make something out of herself, and she's getting smoked because of her boss.
The wokeness only ends up hurting the people at the bottom. It only ends up helping the people at the very top. And it is remarkably hypocritical and really painful to look at a brand that's so mismanaged. Do you think they'll ever come back? I mean, they're from Tennessee. You're from Tennessee. They live, you know, I mean, we're seeing a lot of this, John. Like your photo that you took, we're seeing a lot of this across the country of empty Cracker Barrels. You think they can come back? Are they going to make you CEO, John? Can you break that news right now? Is that how they're going to fix it?
If they made me CEO of Cracker Barrel, I could probably get them back in the doors. Yes.
How'd you do it? How would you do it?
Fire everybody that bastardized that brand, number one, and then number two, we would start doing the Pledge of Allegiance every morning when we opened at breakfast, and we do the national anthem at lunch. I mean, all kinds of things that we would be doing. And it would turn it around rapidly, and people would come back in droves. But my analogy of the Dixie Chicks, that's correct. Listen, it's more rural style people that eat at Cracker Barrel. Those are the same people that smoked the Dixie Chicks, that said, we're not ever listening to them again. We're not listening to your radio station if you play them again. We're definitely not going to buy concert tickets. They never recovered. I mean, that was 25 years ago. They never recovered from that. Bud Light still hasn't recovered. So as you know, I own a honky tonk downtown in Nashville, Redneck Riviera. We still don't have people asking for Bud Light. We don't even stock it. Nobody asks for it. They all just move on to something else. And again, that's not cancellation. That's capitalism. You made a call, you made a marketing call, and now you're going to reap the destruction of that call. It's as simple as that.
I have a feeling that in a John Rich run Cracker Barrel, they would make so much money. They'd make so much money. I have a feeling the menu changes would be very exciting for the American people, and the biscuits would be fresh, and the music selection.
They used to be fresh biscuits. We would have to have Benny and the eggs. And the eggs. That would be one of our plates.
I'll absolutely take it. And as you eat those eggs, over the soft sound of John Rich's brand new banger, it's called The Devil in the TVA. Devil in the TVA would be playing. It'd be John Rich bangers day and night.
All you can eat chicken fried steak, eggs, and mashed potatoes for $17.76. Boom.
Boom.
I mean, load us up, baby. $17.76. That's it.
Why are you not letting John Rich run your brand, Cracker Barrel? Why? Bring him in right now, whatever the fee is. You've paid $700 million to a bunch of lib eunuchs to go run to this, to Dishwater Rachel Maddow, Temu Rachel Maddow. You paid Wish.com Rachel Maddow, Keith Olbermann Rachel Maddow to go run your Cracker Barrel? John Rich is living in your backyard? $700 million? And you didn't call John Rich to go save Cracker Barrel? You're dumb, man. You're just dumb.
Yeah. Yeah, they're dumb.
The Devil in the TVA would play. Okay, I'm going to put up the link to the song. This would be, John Rich would have the best music playing at that Cracker Barrel. Maybe this would be one of the songs, right?
Yeah, it would be. So that's a song that came out last Friday. The whole video is right at the top of my X page at John Rich. But
grab that.
The TVA is the Tennessee Valley Authority. And Benny, I know you know what that is, but it is a federal entity that's also private. And because of that, set up in 1933 by FDR, our famous socialist president. And it still operates that way today. And they absolutely brutalized communities throughout 7 states. And this is the story of what they did to Cheatham County and what we did when we put our fists up and fought back and pushed them out.
We talked about this at length in our last stream that we did from your house in Nashville. And it's a crazy story. And it seems like a very creepy bygone era thing that has somehow been able to persist and is unnecessary, but is really harming people. It's fascinating, John, that you are able to, you got a lot of opportunities. You're famous. You got a lot of chances to go tour and go do other things that celebrities would typically do. But instead, you're here fighting for rural Americans against, well, insurmountable odds, like the TVA coming in and destroying their homes. It's just super honorable, man.
Well, I saw
Nice
a
to see.
video. I appreciate it. I mean, I saw a video that was captured by a neighbor when the TVA showed up on an 88-year-old woman's property. And on top of that, the elderly lady was suffering from dementia. Okay. And she's on a farm that's been in her family for more than 100 years. The neighbor comes out with a little camera as the TVA shows up on her property, 10 vehicles deep. These men get out of their vehicles, bulletproof vests, loaded guns. They come walking up to this lady's yard, demanding access to her property so they can do destructive testing, then condemn it, then take it for 10 cents on the dollar. And they were doing this all throughout the county. And that's the lady right there, Mrs. Nicholson. When I saw that video, Benny, my blood ran absolutely ice cold. I said, that is the most anti-American, tyrannical, communistic crap I've ever seen in my life. And I cannot even believe this exists in 2025. So I put my dukes up. The whole county got behind what I was doing. They had over 100 lawsuits at that point levied against citizens who didn't even have enough money to hire an attorney to represent them. This is a lower to middle income county, which is where TVA likes to go because people can't really fight back. I started putting out videos of me interviewing these neighbors on their front porches, just putting them on X. And they started racking up millions and millions of views, which then got the attention of Secretary Rollins at the Department of Agriculture. She says, John, how many acres of farmland is TVA going to tear up? I said, a little over 6,000. And then I spoke with President Trump, and he and I started texting. I said, you're talking about 500 houses, 6,000 acres of farmland, 5 school districts, the main water supply for the county. Like, this is literally like you might as well just drop a bomb on this place. And on top of that, no Fourth Amendment for anyone. We have no probable cause. We have no warrant, but we are coming on your damn land and there's nothing you can do about it. And if you don't believe me, look at all the guys with the guns and vests standing right behind me. Okay, we're coming. That's not American and it shouldn't be allowed. The TVA builds power. Trump has an initiative for energy dominance, as we know about in America. But there is a right way and a wrong way to do these types of projects. This was the absolute wrong way. It's anti-American, anti-constitutional. That's why I fought so hard against it. And we won. But I put the song out anyway because I wanted people to know this story. And I want to see the TVA change how they have to operate with Americans in the future.
Yeah, or maybe go away. The history of the TVA is super creepy. Like it was a front for the OSS, for the founding of the CIA in order to enrich uranium for the atomic bomb, but it was all like a secret government program. It was obviously, very socialistic, very Marxist in its orientation. It's not like, it's like it's like zombie capitalism. It's very weird. And yeah, things like that should be illegal. So thank you for
how much you want to know Benny, you want to know how much money the TVA made last year? Now that's a strange statement because they're a federal entity. So to say how much money did they make last year? They made $13.2 billion last year. Think about, astronomical amounts of money pouring into this place, yet they have to come on old ladies' properties and pay them 10 cents on the dollar after they've scared the hell out of them with their loaded weapons and their bulletproof vests, showing up like an ATF raid.
John, you've been calling out evil for a long time, man. And it's just so neat to see somebody who puts, again, their dukes up and goes out into the world and does something good. And it's probably the rarest thing that you can see. And it's goes like this. You take like a bad situation and you make it good and you add light to it. And it's something very special that you've done. So few people actually do that. We all take bad circumstances and just sort of like point and laugh at them. And instead of actually fighting back. That's right. Well, an important quality to have. We used to call that being an American man.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm raising my 2 sons right now that they're 13 and 15. And I said, listen, If you see somebody in harm's way that cannot defend themselves, I don't care how big the opponent is. You step in the middle of that. My 13-year-old son actually did that last weekend at a football game at school. There's a 13-year-old girl crying her eyes out at a football game. And my son walks up and says, "Why are you crying?" The only kid to ask her, "Why are you crying?" She said, "That boy stole my iPhone and told me I have to pay him money to get it back. And he's probably messing with my phone." He goes, "Who took your phone?" Well, it wound up being a kid that my son knows very well. So my son called him on his phone. He said, "You bring that phone back over here right now. Bring it here right now." And the kid went, "Oh, okay," because my son was, forceful language wise. And the kid brought the phone back and he gave it back to the girl. And I said, "There you go. That's being an American. And it's also doing what God tells us to do, which is to defend the defenseless, to step in the gap when you have a way to defend them and they can't defend themselves, like old ladies standing on their property with dementia. You cannot allow people to be treated that way." I have petitioned President Trump and asked him to make me a presidentially appointed citizen advocate. I get asked all the time to be in politics, Benny, run for governor of Tennessee, step into a Senate seat, District 7, whatever it might be. I said, no, I don't think that's where I'm most useful. Let me be a citizen advocate, but with the authority of the President of the United States, meaning I can take my petition directly to him and make something happen. And I'm being told they're considering it right now. So I hope that happens. That would make me really happy.
Wow. John, we look forward to that. We look forward to working with you on all of these endeavors. And honestly, I can't think of a better project for you to take on than to become the chief consultant or interim CEO of Cracker Barrel. I'm telling you, we're going to get that trending today.
Don't threaten me with a good job.
The solution's been in front of us the whole time, John.
The whole time. I was going to say before you let me go, because I know you got a lot of people coming, the song "The Devil in TVA," you can download it. It's on iTunes, Amazon Music. We're trying to make a statement. It's like $1.29. Go download the song. Go to my X page at John Rich, forward that, and just let everybody hear it. I'm not really trying to get a #1 song with this. I just want people to hear it, man, because it's a very unique David and Goliath real-time kind of a story. And I think it's important for Americans to understand that if they fight back hard enough, they can actually win.
Never stop fighting. Never stop fighting. That's the American way. If you're an American, then that's what your ancestors did. And that's why you actually have this land. So don't disappoint them, actually, as they watch down on you. John Rich is somebody who won't disappoint you. If you follow him right here on X, he's got millions of subscribers. You must be one of them. John, I'm going to call you later. We got some fun things that we're cooking up. I want to work with you on a couple of things. It's going to be an exciting season for all of us.
Can't wait.
Thank you, John. Godspeed, man.
Thanks, sir.
We had some major rest and relaxation over the last week. And again, we appreciate you for sticking with us and for locking back in. It's something we haven't taken a break in a very, very long time. And so it's not something that we do around here, actually. Our goal is to outwork everyone. And so you have to take little respites. You have to take the opportunity that you are given in order to chill. And that is an opportunity that you do have, that I do. Once my kids go down, once my kids finally get to bed, I do have that opportunity at home. And that is when I go reaching like this for my Bond Charge infrared sauna blanket. Bond Charge, ladies and gentlemen, this is how I burn more calories. This is how I detoxify. This is how I get a euphoric chill, ease stress, and unwind when I am home. It is an infrared sauna blanket that works by using infrared light that heats the body directly rather than the air around like a traditional sauna. I don't got room for a traditional sauna. I don't live in a particularly big house. And it's actually bursting at the seams now with 4 little kids, and my son has just decided to start crawling. So get ready. You get the same benefits. Lower the heat. Infrared heat can also help release endorphins that can leave you feeling euphoric after your session. And so it's easy to set up. It heats up rapidly. And it's got the highest temperatures compared to other brands. After using the Bond Charge sauna blanket, I got to tell you, I feel completely recharged and chill. Bond charge ships worldwide and all products are HSA and FSA eligible for pre-tax savings of up to 40%. Plus free shipping on every single sauna blanket and a 12-month warranty. Go to bondcharge.com/Benny. Use the coupon code Benny, BENNY, to save 15%. So that's BONCHARGE.com/Benny. Use the coupon code Benny to save 15%. All right, ladies and gentlemen, got so many interesting little nuggets of news here. Obviously, Rudy Giuliani was in a terrible car crash, and we are praying for his swift recovery. Friend of the show, President Trump, decided to name him for the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Donald Trump names Giuliani first Medal of Freedom recipient of second term. This is obviously good news for our friend Rudy Giuliani. Please pray for him as he is recovering from a very bad accident. Somebody also, Rudy is, I think, 81. Jerry Nadler, also of New York. Couldn't be two more different men, but nonetheless, Jerry Nadler, 78, will not seek re-election. New York Democrat. Stresses the need for national generational change. You remember Jerry Nadler. He's a guy who's constantly falling asleep during the hearings. Speaking of hearings that we're probably going to be covering live on this program out of just the curiosity of it all, Ro Khanna, he's a member of Congress, and Thomas Massie, also members of Congress, hold news conference with Epstein victims. People are going to be outraged. Pretty interesting here. Oversight Committee seeks Epstein-Maxwell suspicious activity reports from Treasury Department. This is looks like they're going to get they bit off a little more than they could chew with this Epstein thing. They swung this Epstein thing to try and hit Trump, and they're going to end up hitting the Democrat Party. Here's Jamie Comer sort of previewing what his committee has on Epstein. It's going to be a wild fall. Lock in. We're going to have a rowdy time. Let's go.
On Tuesday, sir, House members are going to meet with Epstein victims. How is that going to play into how the Department of Justice is handling this, as Americans have said they want to see the files?
Right. And I want to commend the Department of Justice. Pam Bondi's has started turning over those documents to the House Oversight Committee. I subpoenaed those documents. The Trump administration is cooperating with us. We're bringing in the families and the attorneys of the victims Tuesday afternoon to talk to the House Oversight Committee. This will be Republicans and Democrats, because we're going to make this information public. That's what the American people want. When we travel around all of our districts, that's one of the things that people ask. When are we going to see the Epstein files? But it's very complicated because there are victims of the Epstein files, and we want to listen to those victims and their families and their attorneys to see how best can we present this information. Do they want their names redacted? Right. Do they not want their names redacted? And that's one of the things that President Trump's talked about. This is a lot more complicated than a lot of people want to realize. There are victims that are involved here, and we want to protect their futures and their reputations and their families. So we're going to have a good conversation to see how best then to turn around and present this information to the American people, and hopefully put this issue to rest so Congress can focus on passing the spending bill and working with President Trump to reduce crime in our big cities.
Yes, put this issue to rest. We've howled at the moon until our voices cracked on this issue. There's obviously a lot of people that still care deeply about it. There's a lot of people that care about the JFK assassination, obviously. The best that you can possibly do is just release everything. Show everyone that you're not hiding anything. The transcripts, for instance, were released from Ghislaine Maxwell. Is she lying in some of them? I don't know, man. I don't know Ghislaine Maxwell. She's not an innocent party. She is the key to everything. She's serving hard time, but we'll see. We'll see. I think that would be the best. And I'm sick of this being weaponized. They're trying to turn this into Russiagate 2.0. I'm tired of it being weaponized. As we have detailed time and time again, if there's anyone who has nothing to hide, it is President Trump, given his extreme efforts in order to save some of these women. And so we'll hear from them, and we'll go from there. It does show, polling shows that curiosity or interest in Epstein, while it reached a fever pitch over the summer, has absolutely cratered. And so I'll be interested to check the chat and to see what you think about this. Final thing that we'll check in on today is Greta. Greta Thunberg. Since being deported in her last grifter run, sailing a yacht filled with smelly, useless, communist pirates to Gaza, Greta has reemerged. And the reason I call them useless communists is, one, a communist is always useless, but two, what the hell are these people going to do when they get to Gaza? Exactly. They have no discernible skills. All their only skills are taking videotapes of themselves wearing t-shirts that say Free Palestine and getting haircuts that make them look like He-Man. So this is what Greta Thunberg has reemerged as. Her haircut is what many people are concerned about. You're going to have to cycle through these, please. Her haircut has a lot of people very curious about what's going on with Greta. This is the new Greta Thunberg haircut. I don't know how this photo is real, but it is. In a world of AI and synthetics, we'll always tell you when something's fake, but this isn't like an actual real thing. Everyone is saying that she just kind of looks like He-Man or potentially a 12th century farmer screaming at her serf slave labor to harvest faster cabbages from their field. This is Matt Walsh saying potentially looks like the bad guy from No Country for Old Men. Lord Farquaad is a good one. What exactly is this expression? This is a great slate of potential Greta lookalikes. I don't even know some of the cultural references for some of these, but it totally find Greta. You can't actually. It's really hard. Find Greta. Everywhere I go, I see it. It's the same expression. I always have that funny little scrunchy face expression. It's a beautiful thing. Yes, and here's Greta actually as He-Man. This is good. I love the internet today. President Trump on Greta Thunberg shortly after she was deported, after she was intercepted and deported in their yacht, which they ran, again, they're on sailboats. They could use wind energy naturally in order to sail to Gaza, but they decide to use two giant engines that burn diesel fuel and pour it all into the ocean as they go. It's amazing. She just doesn't care about the climate at all anymore. It was always a grift. It's really funny to watch and laugh and point. And President Trump at his best here saying Greta's an angry, angry little person. Why is she so young and angry? What's wrong with her? She needs professional help. Our president, ladies and gentlemen.
Do you have a message for Greta Thunberg, and did she come up on your call with the Prime Minister today?
Well, she's a strange person. She's a young, angry person. I don't know if it's real anger. It's hard to believe, actually, but I saw what happened. She's certainly different. Anger management. I think she has to go to an anger management class. That's my primary recommendation for her.
Kidnapped by Israel, as she says? Was she kidnapped?
I find it. I think Israel has enough problems without kidnapping Greta Thunberg.
And secondly, are you going to
Is that what she said? She was kidnapped by Israel?
Yes, sir. Are you going to get rid of the Tesla?
Okay. She is a very angry young person. She needs professional. Give me that clip. Give me the that's good. Give me the my favorite clip ever of Donald Trump walking right past Greta at the UN, and Greta sitting there. Trump goes like this with his jacket, and Greta sitting there with that twisted little expression, that angry little twisted rage expression. He goes like this. And this is my impression. It's one of my. It's got to be in the top 3 favorite Trump moments of all time. And I can't jump off this block without playing it for you. It's just one of my favorites. It is the best. There it is. Greta Thunberg after her little scripted speech that she gave at the United Nations against Donald Trump, has Trump walk in, and Trump couldn't be bothered, actually. Here's Greta and her angry little expression. Ladies and gentlemen, as Trump walks by, watch this.
Thank you very much.
Watch her face. The best to ever do it. The best to ever do it, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So we move on to our verse of the day, which is not in the script, boys. I don't think. There it is. Okay, we'll read it off the screen. Thank you very much. From Matthew 7:7. Ask, and it will be given unto you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be opened unto you. What does all of this have in common? You must take action. It is something that as we go through our spiritual journey, we are going to be really endeavoring on this program. We took action and went out and exposed Jasmine Crockett. We've taken action and gone out into the field in order to tell stories, in order to deliver truth, right? Take action to do charitable and good works, and be Christ's hands and feet as best that we can, or as much as we are called to. And so that's the key element of all of this. You must act upon the world. You must fight back. Ask, seek, knock, take an action. Show God that you are ready to get to work, as we are. Thank you for joining us. We are so glad to be back and ready to rock. We're happy and they're miserable, and that means we win. In the end, we do win. It's your boy Benny. We'll see you for a President Trump special announcement from the Oval Office in a couple hours, about 2 o'clock. Lock in. See ya.
TV screen, stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to life. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.